Hey guys, welcome back to the Southern Philippines. Been riding around today and I started thinking a lot about time and how time is really different on two respects in the Philippines. One of them, we just had daylight savings time in the United States, so that got me to thinking about the time differences. And then two, just the nature of how time is different here in the Philippines. So I want to talk about both those topics today and kind of let you know my thoughts on it and what your thoughts are on time if you've been to the Philippines or into another country that's like it. So let's take a walk and jump into it. So living in the Philippines, the time, it both seems to go slower and faster. So when you're actually living in it during the day, at least to me, it seems like everything's kind of going in a much slower motion than it did back for me in the United States. But in reality, it ends up, I don't get as much done, I guess is what I want to say, in the same amount of time in the Philippines. I had the same really experience when I was living in Phuket, Thailand, and I counted up for what I call island time. And so what I mean by that, so there are things here that slow me down much more so than they do in the United States, and I have to take those into account, especially the longer that I've lived here and I've experienced that. Again, back in Thailand, same thing. For instance, the traffic. So if you look at just in this provincial capital, this is not a major city in the Philippines, and you look at the traffic when I'm riding my bike around town and the speeds that I'm able to go, it just takes, for very short distances, longer to get there because the traffic, it's not just the traffic, but it's the way people drive in the Philippines. Not as bad as Thailand, but it slows down your ability to get around. And even in the major cities such as Manila is probably the worst traffic that I've ever seen anywhere on the planet. And I've been to tons of different cities. There's just not as much organization to it as there are in some. For instance, in Thailand, when I was in Chiang Mai, even though the drivers there are so much worse, the traffic seemed to flow more in an orderly fashion in Chiang Mai inside the city itself. Again, a big city, I guess, compared to where I'm at now, but smaller compared to, a major city like Manila or Bangkok. So that, just the traffic issue is just one of the ways that it takes more time to get anything that I want to accomplish during the day. Another one would be at the grocery stores. So when I go to the grocery stores here, there are very, very long lines. Some of the grocery stores, even when I go to Davao, they'll have like 30 cashiers open. It's not a shortage of cashiers at all. They have plenty of labor, but it's just, there's so many people, there's so much population, and apparently I always end up going at the same time, whether it be morning or afternoon, as everybody else. And so it takes longer to get just basic grocery shopping done than it would for me in different countries. Even in Europe, in Eastern Europe, it was much quicker, much more efficient. I wouldn't say it was better in any ways. It was just, I got through it much quicker than I do here in the Philippines because it takes me more time. There are also delays that I experience here in the Philippines that really set me back during the day as far as time goes. One of those is dealing with the weather. So it's very rainy in the area of the Philippines I'm in. Even they don't really have a non-rainy season here, it seems, in this part of the Philippines, because I live right near where the mountains are and where the ocean kind of comes together. And so you get a mountain effect, is the best I can describe it as far as rain goes. So because in the Philippines we live more outdoors and in nature than you would in, or at least I did when I was living in the United States or in the West. We really weren't outside unless we were purposely doing that as part of our daily routine in the United States. So right now, for instance, I don't have a car, but even if I did, it wouldn't change much. I have a motorbike. So if it's raining out, that's going to delay me going somewhere till that's over. And because of drainage situations and stuff like that, it's just not a pleasant place, at least for me, in my experience, to be able to go around and ride in the rain or be out in the rain. Another thing that is just different here as far as affecting time is going to be having to deal with the occasional brownouts or power outages in the Philippines. I had those in the United States where I live too. They were much more infrequent. They usually were dealing with storms. So a big snowstorm or a big thunderstorm would come in, it would take out some of the lines, and so you'd be without power for a while. Well, here in the Philippines, in the portion that I am in, I would say we experience some sort of power outage at least, I would say at least 3 times, maybe 4 times a week. Now sometimes maybe that's only for 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe it's going to be for an hour up to 2 hours. I haven't had the experience of doing an all-day power outages like a lot of regions in the Philippines do, at least where I'm living. But those power interruptions, if I'm working inside or I'm doing something online back with the United States, then those do interrupt the time, and then I have to sit around or change things that I'm going to do. And also when the internet goes out, when that occasionally happens despite a power outage, that I have to take more time to get those tasks accomplished than when I had originally scheduled for them. Because by the nature of my work and how I lived in the United States, I think a lot of people who are from the United States are this way. We basically plan out our days, we plan out our weeks, we plan out our time. So we're going to block off time between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. to get certain work or certain tasks that we need to get done for the day. And because of those disruptions, because of, you know, just what I would say island time in general, I can't necessarily plan on getting that task done between 1 and 2. It may end up taking me between 1 and 3, 1 and 4. So I have to kind of limit the things that I necessarily am absolutely going to get done during the day to what is absolutely necessary, and understand that those tasks may end up taking me a lot more time than they would back home. Finally, as far as talking about island time, and again, I had this in Phuket as well, different reasons, but because there's so many interesting things in the Philippines, it's not a place I'm going to go and find lots of museums where I'm at or things like that, but there's so much nature, there's so much just observing the culture and the people and seeing different things and wanting to explore, that I find myself sometimes chasing rabbits. And what I mean by that is I get distracted easily when I'm out about doing a task. I'll see something interesting, see something folks are into, I want to learn about that, want to get interested, and sometimes that'll distract me if I don't stay laser focused. And it's really easy to find interesting things and beautiful nature in a place that you're going here and kind of get distracted from whatever it was you're intending to get done that day. It looks like I'm filming into the sun. Better move over just a second, guys. There's the issue of time in the Philippines versus communicating back with the United States where my business is. So my business is located in that makes me the majority of my money, is located in the eastern portion of the United States. So they're on Eastern Standard Time. So we just went through daylight savings time, or I guess the end of daylight savings time. So now I am 13 hours difference rather than 12 hours difference from people on the East Coast of the United States that I might need to communicate with, or communicate with things going on back with the business. So what that means is, because people there work generally between 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 p.m., and that is certainly when the institutions are open that I would need to communicate with, it really makes it difficult to have a normal circadian rhythm schedule, I guess, in the Philippines. So basically I have to get up very, very early in the morning so that I can talk with people in that afternoon time. So that's going to be, you know, between 3 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the morning here in the Philippines, or I have to stay up very late at night. And so with a 13-hour difference now, if I'm wanting to communicate with someone, I can't really start my day as far as communicating until 9 o'clock in the evening here in the Philippines, because that's really when people are going to be for sure in their jobs, in the institutions back in the United States that I can deal with. Now, if I'm dealing with something that's not an institution, or not a business on there, I might be able to arrange a later time, and I have done that. I did that a lot when I was in Thailand, actually, with the time difference, so that, you know, we could communicate in their evenings if that wasn't much of a problem. So basically during the day, I don't have anything to do, you know, as far as looking at businesses or doing anything back in the United States. I can just go around and enjoy the Philippines, but it does make it more difficult on days where I'm going to deal with that time differentiation. And so I really wouldn't want to be having to work a job. If you could do that here and have a job in the United States where you were going to be working however many hours a day or a week, that you would have to constantly communicate with that, because that would put you up working in the middle of the night, which is what a lot of call centers of Filipinos do here in the Philippines. And God bless them. I mean, that must be a chore. I'm glad that I don't actually work that I have to do that. I just have to communicate for the business. And it's not very frequent compared to that, but it does make a difference. And so if you're someone who's from the United States and having to communicate back, especially with the East Coast of the United States, I would imagine there's problems with the West Coast as well. But that's something to take into consideration, and the Philippines might not, if you're a remote worker working an 8-hour work week, be the best solution for you, when you can much easier do it in Europe. My daughter's a remote worker. She did that in Europe. Much easier over in Europe than it was here in Asia, in Thailand, or obviously Latin America. A lot of people do that so they're closer to the same time zones. All right, guys, that's my thoughts on time in the Philippines, the two different things I was thinking about while I was kind of traveling around today, and things that really just kind of weighed on my mind about that. If you're here in the Philippines, or you've been here, or anywhere that you find that time is different than your native country, or that working back with your native country in a new way is more of a disadvantage or an advantage, leave a comment down below. Maybe you can help somebody else out, or at least give your thoughts. Maybe I'm unique in all of this, I don't know. All right, gang, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Leave a comment if you found it interesting. Tell me what you thought. If you got ideas for anything else you want me to talk about, let me know. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.